Welcome, my name is Luke Walstead, and this is a video tutorial for the song Ventura Highway by the band America, and specifically my solo acoustic arrangement that I released on YouTube, about a year ago? A little bit more. And so right off the bat, you should know this is not intended to be an easy-to-play version, and this is not meant to be in any way authentic to what the guitar players in that band are actually playing. This is those multiple different guitar parts reworked into one single guitar part, and this is probably one of the most complicated arrangements I've ever come up with, one of the hardest songs I've ever played, and I worked on this for maybe a year before I ever recorded it, and it's still a song that I have to actively practice in order to put it into a set list when I'm doing a live show. So fair warning, this is pretty hard, and if you can't play it right off the bat, don't beat yourself up. This is very, very challenging. So of course, the main part of this song is the cascading riff. I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm not going to get into the minutia of it. I'm going to show you the positioning, show you basically what frets I'm using, and then I'll show you the exact fingering. But I'm going to leave a lot of details out here. This is not a beginner guitar song. Just know, like, if you can't follow along with me, you're probably not physically able to even play this. So, gosh, I sound like such a pretentious schmuck. All right, so let me show you what I'm doing here. I am playing on the first string, 5th fret, second string, 7th fret, so 2 frets apart. And I'm playing that with index and middle finger. And then I'm going up to the 7th fret and 8th fret on the first string and second string, respectively. And I'm plucking them together in unison with the pick, a double stop. And I'm hammering on to those next 2 notes and pulling off. So I pluck, hammer, pull down with the fingers. That's the first little part. Then you have a transition note, which is the 7th fret on the second string, but you play that with your pinky. So you're gonna play your little trill, I guess maybe a mordant technically. Switch, pluck the second string on the 7th fret, fretting with your pinky. Then you're gonna transition to 5th fret and 6th fret on the 2nd and 3rd string. That's your second set of double stops, and you're gonna hammer on to the 7th fret on those same 2 strings. So 5 and 6 on the 2nd and 3rd strings, and they both go up to the 7th, and that's with ring finger and pinky. So we have our first set of double stops, 5th and 7th fret on the first 2 strings, and they go up to the 7th and 8th fret. Transition on the 7th fret of the 2nd string with your pinky, and then 5th and 6th on the 2nd and 3rd string, and together that's the correct rhythm, but very, very slow. Then you slide down, and this is where you're going to play a bar on the 2nd fret, 2nd and 3rd string with the index finger, plucking the double stop at bar to the 2nd fret, hammering on to 3rd and 4th fret, plucking up on the first string, which is also barred on the 2nd fret with that finger. And then you reach with your middle finger to your G on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Release the chord, strum down, up, bass note, and strum. So double stop, hammer on, pluck the first string, bass note, strum the top of the chord, release the chord and mute, strum down, up, then bass note, and to the treble again. So together. So all together, our initial double stop, transition note, second double stop, slide down to your bar, second position, hammer on with ring and pinky, tag the first string, hold your bass note, faster tempo, and then it repeats again, the first part. And after you do the bar, double stop, and hammer on, you hit the 4th string open, and you're gonna play a D, and you could name it a couple different ways. I think of it as a major 9. You have a major 7th in it, a C sharp, but you also have an E on the first string. So it's not a complete triad, because you don't have a major third in there. So you're playing 4th string open, 3rd string 2nd fret, 2nd string 2nd fret, 1st string open, and that you're gonna use that same bass, treble, strum, bass, treble. So when you do this all in context, you play your descending cadence of double stops to the G major 7 chord, descending cadence down to your D major 9 chord. So all together. And you'll notice there, I'm allowing the 3rd string and the 4th string to ring out extra. I didn't call that out, but they'll naturally kind of start to ring if you let them. And that's what provides the sort of carryover sound as you go from that chord, either chord, back up to the double stop position here in the 5th position. It's one of those riffs that really only works when you play it fast, at least fast enough that you can kind of feel the flow of the movement and hear those carryover notes, because otherwise if you play it really slowly, it's going to sound choppy. So just know that when you're working this out, working on the rhythm, working on this very difficult fingering, it's okay that it sounds choppy at a slow tempo. Expect that. It will start to sound much more connected because you'll have sustaining notes that will actually sustain to the next set of double stops when you're playing at a faster tempo. Otherwise, they're just going to die away at a slow tempo. So just a little bit of a tip there. That's your basic intro part. But then when you get into the verse, it kind of spaces that out with a little bit more chord strumming. And the chords that you're playing are that G major 7 and the D major 9. And you should be able to put that together with the info I've given you so far. But there's an additional little cadence where it goes. So in context, it would be. So what I'm doing there is, as I come down the cascading part, instead of going into my normal strum, I'm strumming only to the 2nd string. So I'm muting the 1st string so that I hear the melody note on the 2nd string, which is 4th fret and 3rd fret on strings 3 and 2. And then I go to strings 1 and 2, open and 2nd fret, and then 3rd fret and 2nd fret. And then I switch to 5th and 3rd, and 7th and 5th. And then I grab a D over here on the 5th string. Now that's the same pitch as your 4th string open, but I'm playing it there so that I can touch the 6th string with the tip of that finger, muting it and giving me the ability to strum quite hard. So I'm trading complexity of needing to only hit the right string with my right hand by doing some muting with my left hand. And it allows me to be a little bit more expressive with the strumming and not be so accurate. I can focus on speed and focus on the intensity, which comes from how hard or soft you're gripping the pick and how fast you're moving your hand. And it's quite hard to be loud and aggressive and really accurate. So typically you're going to want to do something like this, where you're going to play the same note as maybe an open string, but in such a way that you can mute notes that you don't want to hear, so you can just blast that chord with the pick and not hear any, harmonic dissonance. So in context, we're coming down. And I do one single strum, and then it's all downstrokes. And you'll notice that 4th string is carrying over the sound from when we initially strummed the chord. See how it's still ringing? When you play it fast enough, again, that covers over the transition, so it doesn't feel like you went from a chord to just empty double stops, which is the hallmark of this whole arrangement, is that you're trying to maintain enough resonance that when you play the lead parts, quote unquote, you still feel like the rhythm is going on. Where this fits into the verse is after your first initial kind of set of lyrics, there's a little pause. Walking down the road, tell me how you gonna stay here, Joe. There's also a section in both verses where you play that same ascending cadence, but you stop right there. You don't go all the way up to 5th position. You only play 3 of those double stops. Now, next up is the transition from the verse into the chorus, which is... And this is a part where I am not playing the harmony that they are on the original record. I don't like it as well for a solo arrangement. It's much more dissonant. It's really more interesting the way that they play it. I wanted something a little bit sweeter. So it's kind of a straight ahead major cadence. So I'm holding basically the top part of an E bar chord, which if you play in the 10th position is D major, of course is the key that we are in. I'm just holding the 3rd string and 2nd string notes with my middle and index finger. So those are frets 11 and 10. And then I'm reaching up to the 14th fret on the 1st string, and I'm playing from the 4th string with my pick. And then I bring my pinky to the 12th fret, and then I bring it to the 10th fret by folding down my index finger to bar. So it goes. Then I play what is essentially a D major shape, but on the 9th and 10th fret, which is an A major triad. So you get an A major over D. And then I go to that same E major shape, again, just on the top 3 strings in 5th position. So 6th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret on the 3rd string, 2nd string, and 1st string. And then I jump down to that D major 9 chord. So all together, we get from the 14th fret, D shape, back to the E shape, 5th position, to the D major 9. And that leads us into the first part of the chorus. And so what I'm playing there is an interesting G chord. So instead of your standard 3 fingers here, I'm going to keep my bass note, let it be a little bit flat so that it mutes the 5th string. And then I'm putting my index finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, which is an A, which is the 2nd note in a G scale. So typically you would call that a G9 because the 2nd note and the 9th note are the same note, the same pitch, because the 1st note in the scale and the 8th note in the scale, that's an octave, G and G. So A is the 2nd note in the scale and the 9th note in the scale. You just learned a little bit of theory. So I'm playing a G9, but then I'm also playing the 1st string open, which is the 6th note in the scale. So you could call it a G major chord with a 6th added and a 9th added. At least that's how I like to think of it. And the strumming here is what's really important. So in the original song, you hear this from one of the guitars as the G chord is being strummed in the background. So I'm combining those 2 different parts. So it's kind of a combination between playing that melody and strumming with it. Let it be a little bit messy. You could break it down and count it. I think this is a really good chance to learn this by ear by following a 16th note pattern with your right hand, where you're basically going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, and infilling the melody by going. I'm gonna break this down by playing clean single notes to show you the direction of the pick, but just know that half the time I'm sort of strumming a couple of strings so that I don't just hear the melody, but I actually hear the accompaniment of the chord. And but this will give you the direction that I'm going. So I'm going down, 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 up, 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 down, up, down, 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 up, 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 down, up. Then after that, it goes to our D major 9 chord. Then I jump up to the 7th fret with ring and pinky on strings 3 and 2. 7th fret for both of them. Muted strum. And then I'm going to go to 6 and 5 on the same strings. So together. And then I'm back to my G chord. And it just bounces back and forth between those. then at the end it goes. So that's just basically playing that D major 9 to open, D major 9 to open, just back and forth. And then it ends on an F minor 7 chord with a couple extra notes added. So instead of a full-on bar chord, I'm playing like a minor 7 where you'd lift up the pinky and play the 4th string at the bar. So the only note that you're fretting above the bar would be the 5th string that gives you a minor 7. I'm playing that chord, but I'm grabbing the bass note with my thumb, the 4th string and 3rd string with my index and middle finger, and I'm grabbing the bass note with my pinky. And then I'm doing a muted 8th note. So in context, it sounds like this. See. And then I do a flamenco strum, a rasgueado. So what I'm doing there is I'm flicking down with my middle finger, followed by the pick, up with the pick, and down with the pick. So middle finger, pick, up with the pick, down with the pick, with single downstrokes in between. So I go down, rasgueado, down, 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 rasgueado, down, down. And then we're into the minor part of the chorus. And this is a spot that's a little controversial. Some people don't like it. Some people have complained in the YouTube comments, and fair enough. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But this is a part where I really try to build the energy. And I'm playing. And what I'm playing there is E minor to that F sharp minor 7. And I'm playing a straight back and forth 16th note strum. If you've never done a strum quite this fast, you want to bend your wrist a little bit and rotate your forearm. That will make it much more efficient to play rather than throwing all of this inertia of your arm going back and forth. That takes a lot of physical energy, as opposed to this really doesn't. I kind of picked that up from watching Roy Clark, actually, and Guthrie Govan is another guitar player who uses this technique a lot. I kind of dabble in it, and those guys are masters of it. Anyway, and then I'm putting in a backbeat because the drums are going along. So we want to create that with the guitar because we don't have a drummer, so I'm strumming just on the bass notes with kind of a gentle grip on the pick so that it flows over the strings without driving them too hard. And then I'm whipping down onto the treble strings, gripping it harder so that it gives me more volume. And I'm doing that on beats 2 and 4. So it's a simple 16th note pattern of 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E. When we go to F sharp minor the last time there, where he says, in the air, so the F sharp minor right there at the end, I change from a simple backbeat of hitting where the snare drum hits, and I'm going. One E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... And then I do the same thing on my G6-9 chord. I also then bring in the rasgueado to produce that rhythm. So I get... And then I'm ending on an A2 chord, A9 if you want to name it that way, and just hitting simple, straightforward downstrokes. And then you're into the... And everything's the same. And it's like, after you've learned to play it initially, you realize, learning to sing doo-doo-doo-doo over the top of that, it seems like the easiest thing in the world to sing. I mean, it kind of is to just, sing the same vowel, over and over again. But man, it's a whole new wrinkle to playing this song. So all in context, we've got a free wind is blowing through your hair, and the days surround your day like there. Seasons cry and no despair. Alligator lizards in the air. In the air. And that is pretty much all there is to it. I want to give you a little bit of advice on how to practice this, and that is there are two ways to think about practicing. You can practice until you get something right, or you can practice it until you're not getting it wrong. And this song is something that you can understand how to play, but there is no substitute for playing through carefully those, especially those descending double stop cadences, until you can play it like 10 times, 15 times, 20 times in a row at a slow tempo perfectly. The difference between those two mindsets is that you might play it, say, 10 times, and the last 2 or 3 were correct, so you practiced it until you got it right. As opposed to, you practice it until you can get it 10 times in a row correctly. And that's a level of consistency that you need to play this song, especially at tempo, and if you're going to be singing over the top of it. I mean, it's not hyperbole to say this is the most difficult song I've ever performed. I was more scared of playing this than any other song that I've learned, with the exception of maybe my own song, Far Away. That one also took like about a year, but nobody knows that song. So don't get frustrated. Recognize that this is one of the hardest things you may ever play. And it's not enough merely to know how to do it. You have to prove to yourself that you can do it so consistently that it's easier for you to get it right than it is to get it wrong. There's only one way to play this correctly, this arrangement, and myriad ways to play it incorrectly. And so having that level of consistency is what you need to put it together. So don't be discouraged, don't get frustrated, just work at it and give yourself plenty of time. I am now 32 years old, and I got my first guitar when I was 14. And prior to that, I had studied piano since I was 7 or 8 years old. And so when you look at someone like me on YouTube who can play these things, and I say, oh, it took me a year, recognize I have dedicated my life to being a musician, and my young adult and adult life into being a great guitar player. So if you've only been playing like 4 or 5 years and you want to tackle this, have at it, man. It's a lot of fun if you have the right mindset. But just recognize that you need to have a realistic view of what is doable and what is not, and don't beat yourself up if you don't make instant progress. I tell my students this all the time whenever they come up to a piece and they don't learn it as quickly as they expect. And I'll say, remind me, how long have you been playing guitar again? And they'll, whatever the number is, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And they say, I just feel like I should be able to do this. And I said, according to what? Like, you're a unique human being, and you're learning an art that is also incredibly challenging and very, very strict. We're not just, painting our own interpretation of a fruit bowl on a table. We are copying something that is very, very exacting and precise, even in a reinterpretation like mine. So just a little encouragement from one guitar player to all of you out there on YouTube. Be motivated by the struggle. Don't be frustrated. If you have questions, put them in the comments or reach out to me directly through my website. If you're interested in lessons, I'm available for that too. I hope this tutorial was thorough enough to help you put this song together, and I hope what I said encouraged you. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.